Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Welcome to the Phyrexia All Will Be One Commander Roundtable. As always, I'm joined by a fantastic panel of guests, some new faces, some returning faces, but we're here to discuss the latest set coming up for Magic the Gathering. In addition, we do this in support of charity. This month, it's the Trevor Project. Do make sure to hit Command Donate in chat in order to see how you can donate. If you donate in increments of $5, you're entered into a draw to win some fantastic prizes. We'll be giving away everything from Infinite Tokens prize packs through to precons from All Will Be One. So make sure to donate. We've got our goal tracker up at the top. We're already at $50 for the night, which is fantastic. But we're looking to hit that $250 goal. The higher we get, the more prizes will be added in. So please be sure to donate. All right. Before we get to tonight's festivities and all of our great questions, I want to introduce our fantastic panel, starting with Chase. Chase, why don't you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and special question for tonight, which Praetor do you have a crush on?
Excellent. Hi, I'm Chase. You can find me everywhere at Manacurves. I'm a Commander content creator. I write about Commander for Star City Games. I have a podcast with EK Plays Cards called Bad at Magic, and I do Commander gameplay on my Twitch channel and deck building streams on it as well. And I am unashamedly in love with Vorinclex, specifically the Vorinclex from Kaldheim. It's not original Vorinclex. He got a weirdly sexy glow up in Kaldheim, and I'm enamored with him so much.
Nice. Great answer. Fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Jim, who are you? Where can we find you? And which Praetor is your smash?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jim. You can find me on Wednesday nights at my LGS Fusion Gaming here in Winnipeg. That's pretty much it. No, I run a channel called the Spike Feeders, and I'm also a member of the Commander Advisory Group. Commander Advisory Group? No, I'm a member of the Rules Committee.
You got that promotion. Got to remember that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I don't know. We do a whole bunch of Commander gameplay and talk about a whole bunch of cool stuff. Praetor, right? Talking
Yes.
Praetors. I'm a big fan of. Okay, I will say that when Chase said that Vorinclex got a glow up, I would have no idea. This is something that not a lot of people know about me. You know when they talk about people being face blind? I'm like art blind on cards. I actually could not tell you what is in the art of any given Magic card. I don't look and I don't like register it.
Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I don't even think I would be able to draw a Praetor, but we'll say like okay. I do have an answer for this though. Somebody asked me how much I love drawing cards.
How much do you love drawing?
Oh my god, I love drawing cards so much. My answer is original Jin Gadaxius. That's it.
Fantastic.
Who looks the same, by the way? Just so you know.
Yeah,
good.
but he's got that sick back curve though.
Yeah,
that sick gamer skull
right there.
Yeah, that is something that does it for me. Actually, is drawing cards and scoliosis. You can quote that.
Oh, awesome! Thanks, Jim. Kiro, welcome back. Let us know who you are, where can we find you, and who's your Praetor crush.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Kurohitsuki. Happy to be here. You can find me at Kurohitsuki. You can see that down here. You can find me there on Twitch, which is where I stream Commander, spell table games a couple times a week, as well as on Twitter and Instagram and all those cool places, even on Reddit now. And I would say that my crush is definitely Urabrask. Before this set, or like kind of any other new versions, I would have just said Elesh Norn, because look at it, right? But when they kind of like gave the description of Urabrask being just like real catty with the other Praetors, I'm just like, oh yeah, I love them now. So yeah, definitely.
When they were describing like it's like a sassy dialect of Phyrexian, I was just like I loved that description, but it's just so silly. I love that.
For me, I just imagine it's like Phyrexian Ebonics, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
Urabras makes me think of Tony Hawk, and I don't know why. I just look at that art and I'm like, he shreds.
Right, Tony Hawk, notable for making your opponent's creatures come into play tapped.
Yeah,
sure. If there's one thing I know about
so
Tony Hawk.
Urabrask is Tony Hawk, and Vorinclex gives you Ghost Face vibes.
Yeah.
I want to hear the other three.
I'll wait.
Chase's associations.
Yeah. Oh God, they're mental.
See, when they described Urabrask as being catty, I immediately imagined Urabrask as like the mean girl praetor, like trying to make fetch happen, right?
Get in, loser. We're going planeswalking.
Exactly. Yep. So someone's got to do that Photoshop in chat of Urabrask in the convertible leaning out.
True. With cough in the back.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And Clay, as always, staple of our roundtables. Who are you? Where can we find you? And who's your secret crush praetor?
Yeah, hi friends. I'm Claybee. I am one of the co-hosts here at the C&C Power Hour. Right now, you can really only find me here. I am in school and have 2 jobs, so I have unfortunately not been able to stream nearly as much recently. But you can find me here, and you can find me on my Twitter at whatever that says below me, MTG_Claybee, is I think how that translates. But you can find me there on Twitter, where I'm always talking about Magic and the different ways that I break the arena client. Is a nightmare that is not built to handle a lot of the cards that they put there. It's great. I love it. As far as the Praetors, so I have a contrarian answer, which is Ebon Praetor. I love the hat. And then as a I guess a more answer, and I don't know if this is still being contrarian, but Gix. Okay. I really like the aesthetic and the fingers. Big fan of the fingers.
Oh,
that's just.
I can see that. I can see that.
Fair enough.
I will say that even though I could not tell you what most cards are like depicting, I can definitely tell you that Ebon Praetor is a rabbit getting married.
Yes.
That one I do know.
You looked at it long enough for that one.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is for chat too. That is some of the weirdest Magic cards.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And of course, tonight, folks, I am your moderator as always. I'm Chris, and I am your commander mechanic. You can find me everywhere content is made. Look for the orange wrench, and that's me. And my Praetor crush is Vorinclex as well, but mainly because I want to see what that mouth do.
Thank you. He's so. He makes me think of Venom from the movies. I just listen.
Yeah. That is a Praetor that can unhinge his jaw.
Why do you think I'm in love with him?
There you
like
go.
That.
Yep.
Don't like that.
Jim, just look up the face just look up the art where he's literally ripping the alternate art where he's ripping into like red flesh, and tell me that you don't want to like go to an Olive Garden.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I declined. I sent it back.
We gave Jim the X. There we go.
No.
Mission accomplished. We're 10 minutes in here. So
I will say it's not the Smash, but the regular art for the new Elesh Norn gives me. I know everybody made the Lady Gaga jokes, but it's so camp. I love it, and I would absolutely be down to be one of the ossified statues on stage with her.
Yeah. And I don't blame any of us for not saying Elesh Norn at this point. Elesh Norn is hot, and she knows it. And I don't know about everybody else, but I think that's a turnoff, right?
I liked it.
What?
Okay, no, I agree. I agree because she's She's what I would describe. I don't know. She gives me like 90s Paris Hilton vibes. And we're
Exactly.
modern now. We've changed. We've evolved.
I like
What?
Right?
I liked her original art because it was like it was more so just like, oh my god, like this is a white evil being who is just like existing, and that's like bad for us. But you can't help but go like, this is beautiful. Like this art, everything about it like folds into each other like perfectly, right? The newer one is just like, yeah, she knows it now. She knows that she's like fantastic and glorious, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's another
It's government
theme?
official. It's giving government official.
No,
yes,
Like,
no.
yeah.
What government? What? who in politics has an ounce of this flair?
It's
I'm
the
not-
same
We're
government
working
as
towards
like
it. We're behind.
it's weird that they keep giving us like female presenting villains with like the same pose of just like think of Olivia Voldaren from the last set,
she's
right?
literally like,
I mean, she's doing the same thing. It's just like
she's going, and what?
right. It's like that one's evil dead blood spirits, and this one is ossified. That's the original Olivia is just doing her thing.
Oh
And
my
and
god.
don't look at the art too much. All right. But
You pointed it out to me. This year's trend in women's
Yeah.
fashion is undead corporeal bodies. Move
Right.
over micro purses. It's now blood spirits
hanging
and
off.
white statues.
I would
Exactly.
almost push back because I mean she's like holding the hem of her dress with her left hand, right? It's down, and her right hand is she's making an entrance. Like that's very different versus the like worship me.
Okay, well, listen, I don't want to dive into the original Olivia Voldaren art too much. I think the sooner we just move away from it and don't dissect it too, it'll be way less confusing for us.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of the turn. Like if Elesh Norn knows she's hot, that's great. I know that too. That's something we have in common already.
What better foundation for a relationship than shared understanding? Like,
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
See, I think original Elesh Norn went from her presence being demanding, like she's hot when she's when she's walking into the room, all of the eyes are on her, kind of thing. But the new one is like at the head of the room, surrounded by ossified statues. It's ostentatious and it's demanding of attention as opposed to commanding of attention.
It's like exactly, we get it. 100%. You're cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Sick.
You're the mother of machines. Okay.
Oh, am I supposed to be scared?
Exactly.
Your kid's from daycare already. God.
Awesome. Okay, so we dug a little bit into the Praetors. Let's dig into the set a little bit. Before we talk about specifically the lore of the set and the cards of the set, there have been a couple of changes made to the way the set is being released recently, and that is that the pre-release is now officially just the release of the set. Cards are legal the moment you can get your hands on them. There are a lot of implications for this for a lot of formats, but I'd like to ask if we feel there are any implications for Commander with this as well, with this buffer week. Is this a good move? Is this a bad move? Does this make sense? Clay, why don't we start with you?
I guess it doesn't impact me because I don't play like the constructed formats where like I had to worry about if my cards were legal, right? Like in Commander, if I open them, like playing with my friends or on our stream, like I never worried about the fact that this card that I pulled from my pre-release wasn't technically legal until the next week, and like that would never come up, so it didn't impact me. I always thought it was weird that there was a week where cards were out in the wild but not legal to be played. So from that perspective, like cool. It just makes it easier and more accessible, more logical, I think, especially for less enfranchised players. So
great. Chase?
I agree. I love it. I actually think it's great. I actually think it's great for card shops, personally. Just because I did not know that the change happened last time, and I was kind of surprised that people were like buying boxes, and I'm like, you can do that. I thought it was great because people were so excited because like the hype of the set hadn't tapered down yet, and shops were able to cater to a lot of players who wanted to get their hands on product but might not necessarily have the time to do pre-release. You know, I'm a youthful 20 something, but you know, I don't have like a family or kids or something like that to prevent me from like playing on pre-release. So, but there are other people who might not have that time but still want to get their hands on cards and trade and stuff. And you know, I think it's such a smart move. I love it. It makes me happy. So 10 out of 10.
Fantastic. Great. Kiro, your opinion.
I honestly didn't know it was happening until today. So it's like, I mean, that's neat. Coming from just like, you know, previously working at a card store, you know, I still want to make sure or just hope that like pre-release events still happen, like unnegatively affected, because that's like, you know, pre-release is a big time, and sometimes that's the only time you play seals, right? So everyone should kind of have that. But other than that, it's just like I get cards in my hands sooner, and we get like an extra week of actually like absorbing and enjoying this set now before they start advertisements for the next set.
Yes.
So now it's not just like a Capenna to Neon Dynasty, like the week of us getting new Capenna.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic point. Clay, you've got something to add?
I was just saying it very, very anecdotally, but having been at the last pre-release and then the pre-release before this change rolled out, there were more people at the pre-release, and I think a big draw and something that I heard people saying was being able to actually purchase boxes and cards at the same time as the pre-release was bringing more people out. And like the LGS I went to was like, we will have to do another pre-release because we have more people than we have chairs in here. And that is not something that I'd experienced at this pre-release in the last couple sets. So, you know, very anecdotally, it might have just been Brothers War excitement. It might have been a combination of the two things, but I do think from that perspective, I don't think that it'll cramp or like undermine the sealed experience. Hopefully it just like brings more people out, gives more people a reason to go out on a Saturday or Friday night.
No,
fantastic. Jim, how do you feel about the change?
First of all, I think that's an awesome problem to have. I love when a store is like, we have to run another pre-release because there is so much demand. That rules. But yeah, I think I would echo what Kuro said. I think that is having an extra week before the next preview season is incredible. I definitely, I really struggle to keep up with the card release schedule. Like as a content creator, it's like a whole new level of trying to drink from a fire hose, you know? But I also like, so I'm absolutely awful at limited formats. I'm bad at sealed, I'm bad at draft. So when I go to a pre-release, like I fully expect to lose. I'm just like, I want to open some cool cards. I want to maybe jam a couple games with some friends or whatever. And then I like O2 drop and play Commander for the rest of the day when I go to a pre-release, you know? Very explicitly, we would play Two-Headed Giant. We would name our team O2 Drop Commander so that people would know to find us. Like, find us over at table 83. That's where we'll be, you know? And, but I think there have been a couple times where I've wanted to buy product, like, well, where I've wanted to buy singles, but in the absence of singles, I've wanted to buy like a box of a set that I was excited about. I remember when we played Kaladesh, I opened some really cool stuff in Kaladesh pre-release, and I was like, I just want to buy a box of Kaladesh and go home and crack some packs, and I just couldn't. And I think that's a really weird dynamic because they have the product, everybody sees, and like, especially for a newer or less enfranchised player, being able to like go and play in a pre-release but not being able to buy the cards after is bizarre. It's a weird position to put an employee in. I don't know. I just think it's universally positive. I think it's I would echo the concerns that I hope it doesn't impact pre-release, but if it isn't, then I think that's a win.
And I've spoken with my LGS owner about this, and he absolutely loves this change for exactly the reasons that we've discussed, is that people will come in for pre-release, which is the busiest event he has all year long, or his pre-releases. And people want to walk out of there with new set product.
Yeah.
And now they're able to do that,
Right.
which means people get their hands on this, people get to enjoy this more. And yes, as all of us as creators, having another week before preview season starts is probably the healthiest move for
Mhm.
us. So
Mhm.
I think universally this is a fantastic, fantastic move. But before we dive into our next set of questions around the lore of the set, I want to shout out that we are already at $190 in
Woo!
donations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
I got a
and
lot of F-bombs to drop now. For this.
Save them all up to the end.
Oh, I will.
And we got a $100 donation from a donor as well. I
Thank
want to
you.
shout them out, but if they want to remain anonymous, we'll let them remain anonymous. But
It says their name on the overlay when
Okay,
it goes.
does it say it on the
It'll yeah.
okay, so thank you very much to Stibs for a $100 donation.
Yes,
Yay.
Tibbs.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
much. But this just means that we're getting closer and closer to more goodies to give away at the end of today's roundtable. So thank you very much. Remember, if you want to donate, if you want to get in on the draws for some of the prizes that we're giving away, donate in $5 increments. Hit Command Donate in chat. Everything is going towards the Trevor Project tonight, a fantastic cause that we have supported on multiple occasions that help support trans youth in many situations across the world. So fantastic. Now, team, we are looking at this new set, and this is a very lore-heavy set. There have been some sets that are a lot of fluff and a lot of table setting, but this one really seems to be a major story beat. And we've had Phyrexia All Will Be One set the table for the next two sets, March of Machines and Prelude to March of Machines, or prologue, whatever it might be, the follow-up to March of Machines. But this is kind of the culmination of the last few sets worth of lore in the Phyrexian invasion of Dominaria and the Phyrexian invasion of the multiverse. So I know that, Kiro, you are our resident lore expert here. What do you think about the Planeswalker Strike team that's been sent to New Phyrexia? This whole set is about their failure, right?
Yes. So I do love like what happens mostly I find it positive. Certainly like my predictions were definitely wrong. But I do like that this story was about the failure, because obviously we're gonna get the March of the Machines and all of that, so like we knew that they would fail, but like we didn't know that Phyrexia would gain that much, right? And also the way that they failed was certainly interesting. I love that Jace like got to be like the person who's like, guys, just stick to the plan, okay? This is really important. We all agreed on this. Like, let's do the thing, okay? And I felt it was weird that like everyone kind of just turned on him in like the final hour. I felt that was a bit strange, but honestly, like that's just Jace in general. Like that's the public perception of Jace, right? And that he's just like, I hate Jace, get him out of here. And he's just like, bro, I'm just blue. Like,
I'm just
what's
blue.
wrong? Like, I'm just a blue mage. Like, it's just what I do. Why is everyone mad at me?
Yeah, and the lore for this set really set Jace up to be the pragmatic one, the one to make the hard decision. Do we sacrifice part of the multiverse or untold planes in order to stop the Phyrexian invasion from taking over every plane.
Right.
And the moment he went to pull the trigger, everybody stepped in to stop him, which I think that shows that there's a lot of not thinking about the greater good from this strike force, this Planeswalker strike force, which is very interesting to think of our heroes as not willing to make the sacrifices that need to be made. So with this being said, the rest of our panel here, what do we feel about the Planeswalker strike team? Do we have any opinions on who failed or why this failed? Jim, any opinions?
So I don't know anything about the lore. I'm not a lore guy. I will make up an answer if you want me to.
I would love to hear what you
Please.
She was just like, yeah, I can't believe they did that to Jace, right? Is that what you said? Jace? Yeah, Jace.
Right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, right?
Yes,
Gamers,
and the hell out of
anybody?
this, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's wild. It's wild. I cannot believe what Saheeli did. And furthermore, what she said.
to Fibblethip of all people.
To Fibblethip of all
He didn't
people.
deserve it.
Teaming up with Ulamog like that, I did not see it coming. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously foretelling a return to Lorwyn. I think we can all see that. And you know, I can't say that I'm mad about it. Lorwyn is awesome.
Fantastic insights as always, Jim. Thank you very much. Chase, how do you feel about the failure of the strike team here and the sets lore?
So I personally, this might be an unpopular opinion or a hot take, as the young people like to say. I love seeing heroes fail. I love it. I think it's really, I think it's more natural isn't the word I want to use, but it's more realistic, I think, than in a lot of movies we tend to see good triumphs over evil in such an effortless way, and maybe you lose a couple people along the way, but it's fine and stuff. I prefer to see failure, and I like this because it was done on such a grand scale. If I'm being completely honest, I am a notorious Jace hater. I bought the Jace shoes just so I can step on his face. I've done it once. It was very thrilling, but it was very interesting to see him be, again, like you said, the pragmatic one, because and you know, like, obviously we're not in that position. I personally would have done the same thing that he did, because, you know, it's when you're looking at it from like a numbers perspective, like, you're going to lose a lot. I would rather lose a lot than lose everything. And, you know, it's this whole frustrating thing. So I was very kind of disappointed with that, because didn't Elspeth just like take the salad bowl and yeet off into wherever?
Yeah, Jace got to actually pull the trigger. Like he won like the conflict. He pulled the trigger, and then Elspeth is just like, stab you in the heart. So like, that's neat. And then she just blipped away, and it's just like
she jumped
wherever
on that
she's landing
grenade
is gonna have a
and
bad
walked
time.
away, right?
Yeah.
So,
but oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I really like seeing loss, and I think it's setting up, the next set, March of the Machine, I think, very beautifully. I would like to see more loss, but you know, that maybe that's just me being a little sadistic with these characters.
Yeah, well, you know who doesn't want to see more loss? I know that it's Clay, because we've been talking about this set over set for the last year, and some of the losses to some of our favorite characters from the lore. Clay, how do you feel about this? We took several hard hits to some beloved characters this set.
So it's actually interesting, or kind of funny, I think, that like, as the person who has come on here set after set, extremely upset about losing Tamio and then losing Ajani, and this tonal shift that of where, you know, so we started 2014 is when I started playing Magic and kind of following characters and learning about characters, and for 7-8 years there were effectively no consequences, right, for the vast majority of characters. And so I was like, cool, this is just kind of a, like, you know, you play the game, you get into the character, but like, and a bunch of the Planeswalkers I knew had been, you know, even far before I started playing. So it was just like, oh yeah, these characters just exist and they get to hang. And then, War of the Spark, and I was like, I don't know, a couple tests. It was like, okay, whatever, sure. RIP Dak Vaden. But like otherwise, I was like, all right, this is the tone. This is where we're at. And then, and then the Tameo thing happened, and I was really, really, really frustrated with that. Johnny, Jaya, but I think the way that this set is framed, the lore, the conflict, all that stuff, is a lot more palatable than this, like, oh, hey, one of the, like, smartest, very powerful, older senior figure planeswalkers got off screen, and we find out about it late. And then it's like, oh, hey, this one, like, how many little, inexperienced idiots are running around the multiverse with no idea how to use their powers and stuff? But no, the first two people we see go are Tameo and Ajani.
Yeah.
My favorite planeswalkers, so that hurt a little more. And then I've talked about it on Twitter about the fact that specifically the trope of like completion is really, really triggering for me in this, like, my own past trauma of like that kind of idea of a religious cult assimilation and stuff like that is really tough to handle. Like, it would be easier if they died. But as far as like this set, now it's like, okay, hey, this is the Strike team. They're going in. We've had a year to process. These are the new stakes. This is what this looks like now. This is what Magic looks like. So one, I think that makes it easier to process and like appreciate, like, okay, the game's changed. And now that I know the rule, now that I've kind of had time to accept that, that's cool. Also, I don't give a shit about Luca. So Luca going doesn't bother me.
You're not the only one.
I know. But like, it was very funny to have this moment of being like, oh, like, yeah, Luca, like this might be about the opposite reaction that I had before, and with the Strike team, like it felt like half of the people made perfect sense why they were there. Half of the people I was like, out of everybody we know, this is who you brought. And so yeah, so it was a very interesting, though I think out of the 5, this set, I called Vraska immediately as soon as I saw the Strike team laid out. I was like, well, she's my favorite out of these 10. So it's definitely gonna be Vraska. But I mean, I don't know. I just think that having finally set the stage, hey, this is where we're going. It's going to get worse before it gets better, before we resolve this story. And I think that from a storytelling perspective, I like that. All right, hey, we've set the stakes. The heroes are at their lowest. Yeah. Now we set up the conflict, but now it's not like, all the planeswalkers versus the predators. It's all of the planes versus the Phyrexians, and the Phyrexians have planeswalkers. And I'm actually super excited. Kessler had a TikTok comparing completed Jace to Aizen from Bleach. And this is who they have now, and with the illusion and the mind control magic and everything. And I was like, oh, we could see some really messed up stuff coming up now. Like, and I was like, I'm into that now. That idea, So weird for me response after having the last few, but
nice. Chase, something to add?
Yeah, I think it's really funny with what you said about like half of them made sense, the other half was like, you're here.
Right.
Specifically when I'll never forget when Amy tweeted about, hoping that Luca got shot into space. I mean, Luca's not shot into space, but it's a close second. I think. And also just something about Jace, and I don't want to like get too into the next thingy, but like I love how Jace just looks like he just attached a couple USB cords to his neck and shoulders, and he was like, okay, I'm completed now. He looks so
normal.
Normal.
Like normal Jace.
Yeah.
Next set, the cloak opens up, and
Yeah, and
you're
it's
gonna
just
see,
keyboards for washboard abs.
It's like 90s cyberpunk where it's just like
Mhm.
computer peripherals taped to yourself, and that's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
He's got some RGB stuff inside him. He's got those gamer lights. He's sponsored by G Fuel.
Jim, you had something to add too?
Yeah, Clay, something that you said kind of tweaked in my brain. Do you think that the Magic story kind of generally follows trends in other media as well? Because like there was definitely a trend a few years ago, like post season 1 of Game of Thrones, where I think authors became a lot more willing to kill off their like main protagonist, like early in the story. And so you kind of see like a rush of that. And then like post Breaking Bad, there was a lot more like there are no good characters in this story. And then like, post Hunger Games, there was lots of like dystopian, post-apocalyptic, like teenager against the world kind of storylines. Do you think that there are going to be like any of those? Like if we look back, if we go 5 years into the future and look back at today, are we going to see like, oh, well, clearly we went back to this plane and everything was happy because Ted Lasso was playing at the time, like
I am actually expecting the Everything Everywhere All at Once multiverse tie-in in 5 years.
The Everything Bagel is up next.
That
That's how they're going to defeat the tree.
And I think we can even take this back further, because a lot of these story beats, and we've discussed this in previous roundtables, pull from the classic writing trope of the hero's journey too. Like Clay even touched on it with heroes being at their lowest point before heading into the third act conflict here. And that's exactly where we're at. And we kind of had this table set up with all of the mentors being taken off the board and then the heroes being at their lowest point, which is classic writing tropes for the hero's journey here. And this stretches back over a century at this point for these writing trends. And I think we're seeing that along with some of modern media's influence on these storylines. But I can't help but think, are we falling into the same pitfalls of Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, where we lose a large chunk of our heroes only for it to be undone? Is that what we're heading towards?
Undone, or like Deus Ex Machina, like Miss Marvel swoops in after not being part of the story for the first 3 hours.
Yeah.
Luca?
We do have Teferi being all timey-wimey off in the past right now. Chase.
I am praying that it does not. I'm praying that it sticks, I should say. I want them to stay this way, or to have them be like legitimately killed off. And I think the reason why is just, you talk about the hero's journey, and that is something that we've seen explored in tons of pieces of media, but I think it's just so unrealistic. And I prefer, again, I know I'm leaning on failure, but I really prefer to see characters struggle and fail. I want to see new generations of things pop up and lead the way. And at my LGS, there's been talk amongst my owner and her workers. They were talking, and they're like trying to make guesses as to what's going to happen, and they think that Tyvar is going to become like the new sort of face, is what they were kind of guesstimating, which I find kind of interesting, because he does seem so out of place in here, and he just popped up randomly. And I don't know, I agree that we are sort of Avengers-izing things, like seeing the logo sort of for March of the Machine, and even the sequential thing after it reads very much movie poster. And so for me, that made me nervous, is I don't want things to be undone. We know we have Teferi locked and loaded. I just don't want that. I want there to be a natural progression of things. And I think that'd be way more exciting and refreshing than undoing it.
Okay, I have a question. I know I said that I had like no lore knowledge, but I do have 1 solid hour of Kathleen from Loading Ready Run, like lore dumping on Saturday night
tweet,
after the PPR. Legitimately, like she just talked for an hour, and I was just sitting there like. Okay, so one thing that she mentioned was that like the more recent iterations of the Phyrexians, due to one thing that they mentioned was like the different colors of mana that are available on these planes have kind of resulted in completed Phyrexians that more closely resemble their pre-completion selves. Like, you know, you see some of the motivation in a Johnny being pre-completed, being like a protector figure, and then post-completion, like still protecting but different motivation or different like angle to it, but still kind of the same core of it. Do you see maybe a world, this goes to anybody, do you see a world where like post completion they like live out their lives with different motivations but still like are just maybe villains or maybe not even villains, like anti-heroes?
Yeah, I see it more as these completed walkers still embody the mana and the colors that they represent, just on different sides of that color. So a Johnny is still a white planeswalker, but it's protecting something else. The goals have changed, the motivation has changed. It's very much similar. And if this doesn't get undone, then I could see him continuing to be a villain moving forward. Or if, say, the drive to protect Phyrexia is removed, what really has changed about Ajani? He's still a protector at heart. It's just, do we replace motivations A with motivations B, being Phyrexia, and removing that, do motivations C reflect motivations A once again? Right? Once that Phyrexian drive is removed, are they still at their core what they embody? Tamio is still a scholar at heart. It's just now it's a scholar for Phyrexia and for Phyresis and completion. Remove that drive and that dedication to Phyrexia, she goes back to who she was, being a scholar and having that scholarly drive.
Mhm.
Kuro, I know this is your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I guess a couple things to hit on, but I'll hit on that first. I agree that like their new completed forms are making them more dedicated to like what is them at the core, and just like taking away all of like the human trappings of like ethics and morality and all of that stuff. Like that's what seemingly Phyresis does. It takes all of these, you know, these blocks that you put on yourself because you're like, well, a Johnny, right? In the text series, just like, oh, the multiverse answered my prayers. You're gonna be proud of my pride now. It's like a normal Johnny would be like, I wish I could protect everyone, but I mean that's just like not fair to them. They should have their own rights, blah blah blah. But then you get Phyrexianized, and all of that. Those like, oh, people should have their own freedom. I can't protect everyone. Now you're just like, you know what? I can protect everyone. I can actually do the thing I want to do to everyone if they simply just went from here to over here on my side with the place that I like. And I think that's like a pretty interesting aspect of completion. I do look forward to seeing how the rest of the characters express their Phyrexianized views. Like I want to see what Nissa does, right? I want Nissa to just be like forest. They're not going to bring her back to original Nissa Ravine with elves and stuff, but they will go forest. And I look forward to her maybe, you know, when she's attacking other planes, just going straight for like the ley line of the plane, because that's just what she likes to do. Luca will
Do what Luca does.
Luca will go and attack Ikoria for the second time. Okay. Vraska will, I don't know, sell Ravnica down the river for the 5th time in a row. I don't know. She's not going to change. But like, yeah, Jace, it's like, what will Jace do when he has no age that he self-implements on his own
That's
powers?
scary. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he even said it at the end of the story. It's like, do you know how much effort it takes for me not to just like crack everyone's mind around me? I do that to myself. So like, I will die before I become a Phyrexian. and then stuff happened.
Well,
But
think about at the end of the Ixalan story arc when Jace mind wiped Alhammaret, right?
that's pretty strong.
Yeah, and like reduced Alhammaret to nothing, to baseline. Imagine that power with the Phyrexians and 0 inhibitions. That is scary. That really is. Right?
Yeah. So I look forward to that aspect, and also I don't think Teferi will necessarily have. I think he'll bring back Zalfir because that's like that's where he's at now, and that's cool. It'd be like a new army to fight Phyrexia or whatever. But I mean, I could maybe be misremembering the lore, but like he doesn't actually like time control and undo everything as often as and it's not just you, Chase, but just like in general, people very much hate Teferi and think that he's a Deus Ex, but I just don't remember him actually doing that much to necessarily warrant it.
Yeah, Chase.
I like Teferi. Where did that come from?
Hater Chase.
I hate Chase, but I like Teferi.
No, the idea that like, oh, I don't want Teferi to just do some timey-wimey stuff and then everything is just reset. That is very much like the theme of, at least on Twitter, how people kind of view Teferi existing in the first place. It's just like a Deus Ex. And I mean, he just hasn't like he hasn't pulled a Tarkir. Yeah. Right? Like that hasn't happened. He hasn't really rewritten time.
For the benefit of people in the audience, can you explain what pulling a Tarkir means?
When so you had like Khans of Tarkir and then Fate Reforged and then Dragons.
Yep.
Sarkhan went back in time during Khans of Tarkir, and then we got to see what back in time was with Fate Reforged. He changed things in the past so that Ugin didn't die. During what faithful something, whatever. And then Dragons of Tarkir is the new timeline of Tarkir. It's like, okay, let's go back to the future, but with all those changes.
Of course, so yes.
Teferi hasn't literally been like, oh, this is some wacky stuff, guys. We gotta go back and maybe like kick Jace down the stairs and then we'll be good. Or something like that. That's all.
Beat him up.
We got to give Elesh Norn a wedgie back in high school.
If we bully her, she won't be a mean girl and she'll stop.
That's right.
Hey, Chuck Berry, it's your cousin, Jace. You know, Jace Bellerin.
Exactly.
And I think that it is important to bring up pulling a Tarkir, because that shows us that canonically time travel can change things, but it's isolated to a single plane at a time. Which another thing to reference, and I know that Clay wants to talk. Just another thing to reference, and something that I hope doesn't really change too much in the future. But one of the cool things about Magic is that planes are different. Like they literally work differently. Air seems to be the same on all the ones that we go to, but there are different laws that govern different planes. Like Theros has an afterlife and gods that can spring from human thought. It's like that's a unique thing to Tarkir. And now that you have this tree that kind of like branches in, not Tarkir. Theros, thank you. Now that you have a tree that kind of branches into Theros, I just hope that like whatever they do with March of the Machines Aftermath, they don't make some like just one big plane where we start losing like the rules that govern different planes and make them cool also. Like I want to see, that poster of Essica on her chariot with Thalia and Junji
and Junji. Like I want to see that, but I don't want to see that in every set, because then it's just like, what's the point? Kamigawa would just crush every other plane with giant mechs, and it's just it just wouldn't really be fun anymore. So I hope that doesn't change.
Yeah. We get a big Secret Wars kind of thing to make a comic book reference where, all the universes get pulled into one world and it all overlays. Right.
That also, tying in before, Wizards have stated that they do that. like years ago, I remember an article of them admitting that like they do see like trends and what's popular in pop culture like then. So when they are designing like whatever set that they're working on, they can implement those things. So it is something that we know that they do. And obviously Endgame was, or War of the Spark was very Endgames inspired, very much so, with like no character actually really dies except for the one character who was willing to give his life for everyone, Gideon. Same thing with Iron Man. So I think hopefully, ideally, the Endgame / Marvelness will end there. And they'll move on to like a different trend, because especially right now, since Marvel is literally not doing anything remotely exciting, like their phase 4 has not made movies that make us go, oh my god, I can't wait for the next Endgame. They're literally not doing anything, and it's been years. I think Wizards will not look at what Marvel's doing and go, oh, we want to do that, a bunch of things that don't lead to anything. I don't think they would.
Yeah. Clay, we've been waiting to hear from you. Want to get your input on this too.
I think what I was like, the main thing was that, I mean, I think Kuro covered a bunch. But what I was gonna say with the you talked about the changing of the guard, right? So we've had these established planeswalkers. Nissa, Jace have been around forever. Vraska's been around for a long time. Tamio, Ajani, like a lot of long-running walkers, right? So Jaya, I mean, not a lot of cards, but still somebody that we've known about for a long time, etc. So if in the kind of like hero, not kind of like hero's journey, we're talking about like the changing of the guard, removing the mentors, but kind of in a like Jim talking about like mirroring storytelling tropes or techniques, right? Like it feels like we're doing the anime thing, right? Where you use the conflict to clear out the past generation to set the stage for the next generation as we go into like a new world, right, of Magic. And I think that's the strongest case to make for why I don't think that they're going to just undo everything. There may be one or two people who are not Phyrexianized enough, or can be, we have a what was it, the Venter Karn, like somebody makes a sacrifice to save this walker or something. Like we might have that like on a small scale, some kind of undoing. I would be really surprised if they did. And even as somebody who's been as upset as I've been this last year about the story, I would be really upset because it would make the last year pointless. And I love the idea of setting the stage for going, after we get through this, having Tyvar and Kaido and Nico and like a bunch of like these new walkers that we've gotten to see, and go meet new walkers and tell new stories on new planes. And like Kuro said, I really hope that, there's been a lot of theorizing of like, oh, they're moving away from planeswalkers because they're gonna like connect all the planes with the Realm Breaker, and then we're gonna just go to legendary creatures that can like go through the things. And like, I don't know, that kind of sucks. Like for me, like for the story, one of the big things that I love is we have all of these cool isolated worlds with a small number of people that can visit them, and then that informs our whole thing. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, but I do think that we are mirroring the stories, and I'm curious what stories we're going to mirror going forward, if that makes sense.
I'm telling
Definitely.
you, we're entering 100%. The Ted Lasso arc.
Everything's sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
Kaya goes to Innistrad to teach the youth soccer.
What is what's the tiny plane? Segovia?
Yeah,
right?
Segovia.
Is that the Segovia? Like, I don't know. That'd be hilarious. See Garruk in Segovia. Just like do a reverse Gulliver's Travels.
A Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah,
exactly. Fantastic. All right. So we're at the halfway point, everybody. I want to say thank you, everyone who has donated. We have hit the $300 mark for
hell yeah.
donations.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We've surpassed our goal of 250. We've hit 300. We're going to be adding prizes to the draw at the end of tonight, too. Make sure that you get in on this. Do hit command donate in chat. All proceeds are going to the Trevor Project, which is excellent. We're about to start talking about the cards in the set. Mechanically, specific cards, what we're looking forward to brewing. But towards the end of this hour, we're going to be doing a Q&A too. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask of us in the panel, make sure to use the 1 point channel point redemption to highlight your message so that we can see your questions towards the end of the round table. All right, so stay tuned for that. Remember, folks, we will be doing a draw too, so stick around for the end for your chance to win. All right, fantastic. So we've talked about lore. We've talked about what we're predicting for this set and sets beyond. Let's talk about some specific cards from this set.
Sorry, real quick, because
Yeah.
we had the other questions and then we kind of really dug in there. I just real quick, because the story implications, wanted to talk about the anti-planeswalker barrier that the Phyrexians can set up to disrupt coordinated walking, and what are the consequences of that going to be? Because that was a reveal.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty big.
Yeah, that was a moment of oh, that's a thing they have. What the fuck?
Isn't it the thing from Ikoria that prevented planeswalking? Wasn't that one of the things that that Tezzeret picked up on his big scavenger hunt?
Wasn't that the reality chip?
No, it's the reality chip turns planeswalkers Phyrexia. Now it's from Kamigawa. The thing that prevents planeswalking is the golden sun from
But that was just you can't leave. This is but this is it made it sound like it was more like a field that they set up and
it was something new. It's off screen and we don't know what that is at all.
I can't wait for that beat to drop and to have more clarity, and then the consequences as the conflict grows in more and more places if they have mobile disruption, right? What that's gonna look like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Be wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that also has implications for the no more planeswalkers theories as well. If they've got this kind of technology and now they can spread that to the rest of the multiverse, can they prevent planeswalking or disrupt planeswalking to every plane of the multiverse?
I would be super
or at least mess it up to a point where it's just not like Jace is Kaya is I'm gonna go help the plane, and she lands somewhere very different. So it's okay, well, I guess whatever planeswalker is here already has to deal with it.
Yeah,
I would be super in for more legendary creature versions of current planeswalkers. I'm a big fan of that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I would love to see that. I would love to see specifically a Kaya creature that could be a commander. That would be great.
Are you implicating that there could be kind of like an Avatar moment where they remove bending from people? So because that'd be kind of cool, actually. It's okay, well, one of y'all caused us problems, no one gets to travel planes, and then they just go forehead touch, spark's gone.
Yeah, I think that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
I should say, there should be and this goes for all of the mechanical stuff. When we're looking forward facing, this is a caveat. I have seen a lot of cards from the future of Magic that are not released yet. Anything that you hear me say today is not a revelation of something that is definitely to come. If I'm speculating, it's because I legitimately do not know.
If you donate $150, Jim will tell us about an upcoming card.
I mean, you don't remember the arts of cards anyway, so
see, it suits me just fine because when they send me cards to review, it's just a Word document. It's all text. It'll just be like a 50-page Word document that they send me.
You're gonna get a preview card of just Jace Reborn, and you're I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
you're I can't read.
It's like in Westworld where it's doesn't look like anything to me.
Doesn't look like anything. Yeah.
It's just duress.
What's a battle? I actually misshowed him in chat saying, "What's a battle?" I do know what a battle is, so I'm not going to speculate because I actually do know and I can't say anything.
You heard it here first. It was
Yeah.
not a typo. Battles are a real thing.
Yes.
I thought that Traxxas said rattle.
What's that rattle?
So
Once he's sending the strike team
everybody at Jim on Twitter until he reveals what a battle is.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work. That for sure won't just result in me deleting my Twitter, which I'm on a knife's edge already.
Yeah. So
Nothing.
okay,
What's a battle with you?
let's speak on cards that are actually out and released and revealed. We've got a ton of new cards here in one, including the return of Poison, which has been a buzz within the community lately. There's specifically a lot of speculation once again as to how does Poison play in Commander. It's still 10 poison counters like it is in any 1v1 format, but does it actually make it easier now that we're getting new ways to get poison counters, new ways to proliferate, and new cards that lean into this, including a precon that is all about poison counters and proliferating as well. Do we feel like this is warranting a lot of the hubbub within the community right now? Clay, what do you think?
No. Well, okay. So I think it is worthy of conversation because anytime, especially like a mechanic that is not super popular gets like a whole set around it, right? Like that conversation should happen because that helps inform everybody's rule zero as people understanding where the community is at, all that stuff. I think that stuff has value. I don't think that like the controversy or the concern, right, about like Poison being 10 is I don't think that that's has the same merit as having conversations about what infect gameplay looks like in Commander games. I made the mistake of making a joke in Dan Gian's mentions, and then immediately felt bad because I realized that he was getting a bunch of people who were actually upset about Poison, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Let me walk this back. I think it's fine. I historically am O and X in games of Commander where somebody was playing Infect. Not only that have I never won one of those games, I've always been the first person out due to Poison. And so I made that joke of, was like, do I hate Poison? No. Do I hate being the first person out and then watching that person lose and then sitting there for 90 minutes? Yeah.
Right.
And so from that perspective, I'm excited for Poison counters and more support for that because I think if those decks get more value cards and more options to go, it's going to be you're going to see better gameplay and more like pod like experiences. I think it's like the same thing with Voltron, right? Like Voltron I love Voltron. I hate killing one person, and then if I can't win the game right there, I've just knocked them out, gotten myself knocked out, and those two people are playing 1v1 for another hour. I hate that that experience. And so yeah, so I'm excited to see what these cards do. I can't wait to see how it changes, the infect experience. But I don't think that the 10 counters should be 20 or 5. I think both sides of that are silly.
Agreed. Jim, hot button topic. What are your opinions?
This is an area where I actually am an expert, so I can definitely weigh in on this one. First thing I would say is things sometimes work differently in Commander. A lot of the time, that's by design. So one common refrain that you hear a lot of people say about Poison is Commander has twice the life total, so it should take twice as many poison counters to kill somebody. That's the common argument. And I think that a lot of people are perhaps more concerned with the consistency than with the actual impact of the rule. There are a lot of people that kind of get their hackles up when they see that something is, we call it like academically inconsistent, where like, okay, maybe you've gone we ban, like, let's say we ban a card, whatever card. I'm not going to mention a specific card, but there's another card that's like almost exactly like it, and we choose not to ban it, like Opposition Agent and Notion Thief, right? Very similar cards. If we had gone ahead and banned Notion Thief, there would be a whole chorus of people saying, well, or if we had gone ahead and banned Opposition Agent, there'd be a whole chorus of people that would be like, what about Notion Thief? It's almost the same card. And it kind of ignores the actual impact of, first of all, the card being legal, and second of all, banning a card, removing it from the available card pool. Because, like, banning the two cards, there's a bunch of things that make the cards different. One of them is availability. One of them is recency. Recency is a really big impact on how often people play cards. So because Opposition Agent was printed more recently, more people play it. Surprise, surprise. It was in products that people opened recently, right? So there is something to be said about like actual impact of rules. So if you take a step back and look at what the increased life total rule is intended to do in Commander, typically, like if I were to give you like a 30,000 foot overview of what that rule is intended to do, it's intended to make games a little bit longer. And it's mostly because the format is a social format. And if games are extremely short, it makes it difficult to socialize during the games. It's just because there's not enough time to talk to people, like between turns, all this kind of stuff. If games are a little bit longer, there's a little bit more downtime. You're not faced with the immediate pressure of the game ending, so you're not having to like laser focus on what you're doing. That's what the 40 life rule is intended to do. So if Poison at 10 still allows people to interact and socialize during the game, then it maybe doesn't need to be increased. That's sort of the gist of it. I will say that I think Clay makes a really good point in that going for one person in particular can be socially problematic in the exact same ways that Voltron can. That can cause some social friction of people being bored or checked out or checking their phone. And I do think that some of the techniques that they've used in design work against that, which is nice. Like it's working in the opposite direction of killing one person and then dying. Proliferate is one of the things. Proliferate does make me a little nervous for a couple other reasons, but that's mostly just because design is typically very counter heavy these days, and Proliferate may have some unintended knock-on effects, totally unrelated to Poison. But I think we're getting a massive infusion of Proliferate. It helps us end the game. Okay, taking a big step back. I was editing a game this morning, and I referred to it as like the textbook perfect Commander game. Okay. It was 75 minutes long. It ended on turn 10. At the 60-minute mark, all 4 players were alive, and all of them were under 15 life. So the last 15 minutes of the game was where one person pulled ahead and won, right? That, like, so from a social perspective, that's so much better than having a 2-hour game where somebody wins or loses in the first 20 minutes.
Right.
So I think Proliferate helps you get there a little bit more consistently. But I am a little bit nervous about Proliferate. So anyway, that's like a million things. I could talk for another hour about this, but I'm going to shut up.
Chase, your thoughts?
So I've recently been digging a lot into the concept of like infect, poison counters, and toxic, and I've come to realize that a big reason why people have such strong feelings against infect is mainly due to 3 cards that you see crop up in Commander often, which is going to be Blightsteel, Triumph of the Hordes, and then a Tainted Strike, all of which have those moments that we talked about, those gotcha moments where they end up making you feel like you've been had and your enjoyment is over because you're knocked out of the game so early. And that's happened to me one time where I got Tainted Strike. I let through 9 damage. Somebody else, in response to me with no blockers, did a Tainted Strike. I lost. It was really sucky. But like,
that hurts.
I wanna talk about infect and the fact that I really don't think that the concept of infect should be raised to 20. I don't think it should do that, and the reason why is because changing the fundamental aspect of the game in order to benefit one format feels very weird to me, and especially when you're coming in and you're new and maybe you're playing like say standard or modern, pioneer, whatever, and then you come into Commander and then the rules have changed. I just find that to be very weird. and I can understand it because, I would love it if I had more time to solve a problem. But like at the same time, it just feels weird to change those rules for me. But regarding toxic, I think it's absolutely amazing because I think that game designers are trying to lean towards more equitable gameplay with this concept. And also as a deck builder, I like to challenge myself, and it doesn't feel challenging for me to swing with Infect 5. But if I swing with a toxic creature that's a 5/5 with toxic 1, that means I have to think harder about it. And you see this more in design, particularly in this set with the concept of corrupted. It requires you to keep your opponents live longer, and it requires you to touch multiple people rather than just one person. You get a benefit if someone has maybe 3, but if they're dead, you don't get that benefit anymore. I just really like the way that toxic is now. Just because it's just, you don't, even in the set design, I know I'm babbling, but in set design, you see that most of the creatures have toxic 1 to 2, with a couple outliers being at 3. There is 1 at 4. And then I believe there is a 1 that is at 9, but it is an artifact, and you have to jump through multiple hoops to get there. And just like analyzing a lot of these different cards, I find it just to be so beautiful, taking something that was very stressful for a lot of people and finding a way to make it less impactful than we expected it. And regarding people being afraid of having this poison counter heavy set, I really appreciate them limiting the majority of these toxic cards to Abzan colors. I mean, even the face precon is Abzan. And there are a lot of very strong and impactful pieces in the set that are blue, or in the past that were blue. Like Inexorable Tide is pretty gross. I mean, even the new Azuri is
Thrumming Bird,
Simic. Yeah, and it's very good. You have a reprint of Thrumming Bird, which is again another proliferate piece. And something I also like to make note too is that I think it's Ickermoon Gauntlet.
Yeah.
It gives all of your planeswalkers proliferate. However, what makes me love it so much is that bottom half piece says it only is onto a permanent, so you wouldn't target your opponent with that. I mean, legally you can't. But when you see Ickermoon Gauntlet, I look at that, and as a person who's very heavily invested in Super Friends, I see that thriving in a Super Friends deck. I don't want to have that lean towards more poison. I want to get more value off of my own things. And that was something that I originally saw people kind of freaking out about. And I know that in this set there are 10 planeswalkers that do gross stuff, but I believe if I'm correct, only one of them deals in poison counters, which I think is the new
Vraska.
Vraska. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even have an uptick. She only has a 0 and 2 minuses. So in order to get to that, you got to put in the work. And even then, if we go into I'm babbling, but like even the completed ability, I just think they really, really focused in on this set in terms of the health of multiple formats, especially Commander, which I very much appreciate because Infect is often the big bad, and I don't really see there being this big terrifying big bad within this set because they took so much time to make Infect toxic and make it healthy, but it's toxic, but it's healthy, but it's toxic. But you get what I'm saying. I think they did a great job, and I love it.
Yeah, and Chase, I agree with you. I think that there was a conscious effort made from a design standpoint here to ensure that Toxic wasn't an all-on-one player strategy in this set, specifically for Commander purposes. I think in a one-on-one format, absolutely you're going to be smashing into the same player over and over again. But with Corrupted, making sure that you've got 3 counters on at least one player, or benefits if you've got 3 counters on several players, and with a lot of the spells giving each opponent a poison counter as well, that design really leans into this going wide with poison counters as opposed to going tall with poison counters. I think one of my favorite cards from the set is the very simple common Prologue to Phyrexia, which is just each opponent gets a poison counter, draw a card. I think that's simple, that's elegant, and that shows a bit of a difference in the design standpoint as to how poison counters are being used in this. It's not you're taking everybody out with poison counters, it's you're spreading them around. You're making sure that everybody stays at an even amount. And I think that for the sake and the concern that everybody has for the return of poison counters and the return of proliferate, this is a good way to do it, in my opinion.
There's no gotcha moments that I've been seeing so far. I mean, guaranteed, release weekend happens and, things can definitely change. There have been many times where Twitter said the sky is falling and then it ends up not being the case and quite the opposite at the same time. So our analysis could be very different, but like, I don't see any moments where like, I feel like if someone played that, I would have like a feels bad gotcha moment like I would with Tainted Strike or a Triumph of the Hordes.
Yeah, I think the counterpoint to that is that at pre-releases, if we're seeing multiple person pods, like two-headed giant pods, with everybody having poison counters and toxic and proliferate in their pools, it's going to be that much easier to end those kind of games quicker because you can pick on one person. Jim.
I do want to say in two-headed giant, the poison counter total is 15 to kill somebody.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, that's just already the rule. Right? Yeah. Right.
There you go.
No, that's a good thing to point out.
Yeah. Kuro, your opinions on the return of poison counters?
I was always as a like older judge, and again, like having been at a card store, one of my favorite things to do is like telling people like, hey, did you know this and this about Magic? And hey, +1/+1 counters counteract like, oh wait, no, sorry, that's infect, poison, or venom, whatever this mechanic is.
Wither?
Yeah.
Well,
the thing that's not for Mirrodin. Yeah, that doesn't do it in minuses. But I mean, I everyone honestly said everything that I think and better. The fact that like proliferate, I feel, is more of a maybe issue for like just the general power scaling of Commander, like just having that many proliferate cards. I have a blue-red like Planeswalker deck and a blue-white one, and it's just like, boy howdy, I have a lot of proliferate tools. I need 2 Aethermoon Gauntlets. That card scares me 100%. I fear that card because that's actually a card that makes me go like, whew, my Planeswalker decks are going to go up an entire power level just because of like having that card.
Agreed.
But I think proliferate is definitely far more of a like, oh boy. Toxic is very interesting. I believe that they put in a lot of work to make sure that it wasn't game breaking. And as Chase said, it's just like there's not a Tainted Strike in it, right? There's not some instant speed target creature gets like Toxic 9 and unblockable and hexproof and indestructible at 1 green mana. Thank goodness, right? And unless there is, and I'm just like wrong, but like, yeah, I honestly like agree with what everyone said. And actually, I would just like to talk about the 4 Mirrodin mechanic and that it is not enough of them, and it makes me sad. And
we'll get to that in just a second. But
okay,
Clay,
cool. I didn't know if we would get into that one, but yes.
I would say real quick 2 things. One, I wanted to actually, on what Kuro just said, I think my favorite thing about Toxic is that it's not infect, in that players don't have to worry about -1/-1 counters on the creatures along with the regular counters and all of that, because that sucks. So I'm really, really glad that Combat, they didn't do that, and like they just found this other way to get to that. Love that. Also, as Chase was mentioning the 3 cards and the video that they did with EK, and that conversation was really eye-opening to me as the whole poison thing was happening, as that whole conversation was starting on Twitter, because like when I mentioned earlier, I am O and X against like poison. It is Finn the Fangbearer, those types of decks that I'm so under the curve, and I'm going to get you before like the game has started rolling, that like I wasn't thinking about Triumph of the Hordes or Blightsteel. Like I wasn't even thinking of cards like that. And so when like that part of the conversation, I was like, oh, that's right. Those are like the big bads, like this whole thing. But I'm sitting here worrying about this 2-drop, and like I'm like my game experience has been very different. And I think that's always a nice reminder to have online of the like when you're looking at especially mechanics and rule zero conversations and stuff, to have this reminder that even in a really insulated community like the Twitter Magic content creator community, there can still be drastically different experiences revolving around the same mechanics. The other one was probably the favorite poison story of all time was I went to cast it's the like 8-drop White Wrath, and my dear friend Mab cast Tainted Strike on Kervek in response.
Oh,
And I was like, I have to wipe the board. This is the only way that I can stabilize. And Map is like, don't do it. I will pull the trigger. And I didn't know what the trigger. I was like, yes, I will take the damage to wipe the board. I get it. Yeah. And then Map, she's just like that. And I was like, I thought it was like a pistol and the trigger. And then so it was hilarious. And so like the rest of the game, like I'm sitting there, but like there's still this constant moment of like, I fucked around. I thought I knew what consequences could be. I did not know what the consequences could be. And it was just a great moment.
I definitely think that these counters would be more of an issue if they did, like, honestly, just like if they did print more Tainted Strikes, or those just those cards that do just like on a dime. No one did nothing all game with poison counters, but like you're dead anyway.
Yeah,
and
you know that would be worse. This is now you can build a thematic poison deck, and people can still fight against it. There's only there's only so many creatures with trample and toxic to like where it matters, you know.
And like Chase said, the fact that it's like toxic isn't tied to the combat damage. Even the instants and sorceries that give creatures toxic till end of turn, it's like, oh, this creature gets toxic 1. So that's not backbreaking like Triumph or Strike on a Blightsteel, right? And so like, I love that dimension to the mechanic.
Yeah, you can tell they put a lot of thought into this, and I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that toxic doesn't affect, blocks with creatures, because it's so subtle in the wording. When you think toxic, think, okay, poison counters. Yeah, I get it. But like the fact that it's only players, that to me makes this set. And I also said this on my podcast episodes. I feel so sorry that I keep reiterating, but a lot of the Commander games that I've been playing as of late have not been really combat focused. A lot of them have been so centric on people building up their machine and doing their cool thing, which is cool. I love to do that. But you can tell that in this set, they're like, we want you to swing. So you gotta swing. And I find myself being very hesitant to go to combat in Commander. And I've noticed that in a lot of my games. And this set is encouraging you. It's giving you rewards for swinging. You get these extra benefits from these cards with like Corrupted and stuff. I just think that's really fun and really neat. And it's forcing combat in a way that doesn't make me, go like, oh, I don't want to go to combat. I mean, even the face commanders do really cool stuff based on, like Toxic and Corrupted. I just find it really refreshing. It makes me want to swing. And this is coming from a person who doesn't like to go to combat too often.
I will say, there is actually one toxic card that I don't like, but it has nothing to do with the fact that it's toxic. I think it is part of a broader... actually, Chris pulled it up on the Fetcher earlier, but it's Bloated Contaminator.
Yeah.
This card bothers me a lot.
It is
because I think it's
on the card.
Yes.
It's not even just power creep. This is just the rate for green creatures now. This is a 4-mana. It's a 3-mana 4/4 with triple upside. I don't know what to say about this. Right? Like it reminds me. It's part of a broader pattern of like you look at old One Eye. You look at it. It kind of bleeds into Simic too. I would point to like Coma. And a lot of really, really pushed green and blue-green creatures.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that there's not a 4th ability, right? Like on the like the questing rule, like something like that. There's a right.
Put 2 Phyrexian counters on a planeswalker or something.
But you remember, like, I'm old enough to remember the vanilla test on creatures.
Oh yeah,
right. where it was like
or
an
bears,
XX
the fact
for
that
X.
bears were the going rate on creatures, right?
Yeah, an
That
XX
for
X,
was
right?
the going rate.
Yeah.
Chase, sorry, you're
No, Jim brought up a point. Like, there is actually only one creature that does give me ever so slightly of a pause in terms of like, I don't think this is going to be a problem, but I'm like, in terms of like the power of this, I was actually kind of shocked because I found it to be really powerful. Is a Contaminant Grafter, which is in the precon. It is a 5 mana 5/5 trample and toxic 1, and the ability is what really shocked me because it says whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to one or more players, you proliferate. It doesn't even have to make contact. As long as something slips through, you're proliferating. And the corrupted ability, you get a land from your hand onto the battlefield, not tap. You just, yep, there it is. You get a land. And that to me is so gnarly. And that one actually kind of took me aback a little bit because I was like, this is a little bit something, which is why I'm so happy that a lot of the more proliferate focused creatures in the main set are blue, like the blue horrors proliferate again. I don't remember the name. I think it's like Tekuthal or the Azuri. He's green,
You
but
just
he's
put
also
Dominus,
blue.
Chris.
Yeah, the Dominus one. It's just like, I'm really glad that they stuck with Toxic being mostly absent in the precon, but like this card is Jesus. Stresses me out.
Yeah, I also don't like
just-
the development trend of if you would do this, do it twice instead. I think that is so shark jumping. Like, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
has nothing to do with this set.
I understand the concerns, but I also just got really excited about curving Toski into Contaminant Grafter. And just like, if you can get in, you can draw 6, put 3 lands in, and proliferate 3 times.
Chase, our Planeswalker decks have to include like 5 new cards
Oh,
from
this
this set alone.
Oh, this set,
And
I've
it's-
literally been like writing lists. I'm like, okay, I need to get this and this and
Dang
this.
it. I just want to have a nice, cool super friends, but now I have to like take out some fun planeswalkers to put in these objectively better cards.
No. That's where you're wrong. See, what you got to do is you got to do what I do, which is do Boros, which is the unconventional planeswalker deck, and then you don't have to run any of these things. You're just cruising with the only ever red proliferate spell, which is Volt Charge, which got reprinted in this set.
Yeah, it did.
And I was so excited. I literally crapped my pants on stream. I was excited about that mythic enchantment. I was like, Volt Charge got a reprint. Let's go.
But before we start talking about some of our favorite cards and some of the stuff that's getting our brewing gears going, I do want to remind everybody that we are still taking donations. We are over the $300 mark for the night, and we are still going to continue to add prizes the more and more that is donated. Make sure to hit Command Donate in chat and donate in $5 increments to have your name entered into the draw for everything from Infinite Tokens prize packs through to precons from All Will Be One, all proceeds going to the Trevor Project. We are also going to be doing Q&A in just a little bit as well. So if you've got any questions for us here at the panel, make sure to redeem the 1 channel point, highlight your chat in chat, so that we can see what questions you are asking. As Chris has pointed out in chat, we are going to be adding another precon to give away at $350. Just for $40 away, $40 more in donations, and we will be giving away, I think that's a 3rd precon at this point, maybe even towards a 4th precon at this point. Get those donations in. All right. And let's see those blame Chris's in chat. Thank you very much.
I have some points I'm redeeming as well.
The best part is Chris will refund your points. So you get to spend them and then they'll come back.
Awesome. So we have been touching a little bit on some of our favorite cards from the set so far. A lot has been raised. And I want to make sure that we take a look at what everybody's looking at brewing with or including in their lists or the stuff that they're excited for. Clay, you've got something to add?
I was going to say real quick, I did want to also talk about for Mirrodin with Kuro, just like as a mechanic.
Yep.
Before like diving into the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some of our favorite mechanics and cards from the set, including for Mirrodin. Kuro, let's start with you. I know you wanted to mention for Mirrodin and its lack of cards in the set.
Yeah, so like the Scars block was like the block and the stories in it, because I am quite the Vorthos. That's like what got me into Magic and like sticking with it. like just full time. I loved all of the articles that came out. Hero of Bladehold, Hero of Oxid Ridge, love those things. And I am happy about like certain callbacks, like Gold, or what was it? Sky Hunter, the ogre, Resistant Sky Warden, right? Because it's a callback to just one of my favorite flavor texts of all time in Magic, and it's really, really cool. That being said, I need someone to explain to me why there are cards that are not rebels. I need that explanation. Like you have main characters that are, alive and don't want to be Phyrexianized, and they don't have the rebel like text. There's not really any like rebel lord or anything. The mechanic of just kind of like you make a 2/2 rebel and like an equipment goes on it. Like, I mean, that's neat. But it's strange to me that there's not like one mythic that kind of just like exemplifies the rebellion against, not wanting to be Phyrexianized. And like, I don't know, that part just like confuses me. And I don't play limited, so I don't know if it's like a limited, like, oh, we want to make sure like rebel deck isn't too strong in limited or something. But I mean, I will say it certainly like kind of cuts down on a little bit of my excitement for the set when certain things just don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Chase. To add
Oh
to that?
yeah, I was wanting to say, I personally think that we're gonna see more of the rebel stuff pop up in the next set. It makes, in my opinion, it makes more sense lore wise because you don't want to jam pack too much in one and then have it feel kind of like a blip and then it's gone. I really do think that we're gonna experience this more, especially with the preview of the battle card type. I think we're gonna see that crop up in the next set. It's just I know nothing. I'm just kind of purely speculating here. Is that I think they wanted this one to be sort of like literally like the Icar set, and then the next set is going to be more focused on like the actual clash, and the actual, because I really do feel like they just didn't want to like jam pack too much, and then we're probably just gonna see it crop up. I think in March of the Machine.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the underdogs are underrepresented in
Mhm.
this set. Like the
But by, like,
rebels are
50
the
cards?
minority on New Phyrexia right now. So seeing it pop up as seldomly as it does throughout the set, I think makes sense. But we could be seeing more of this throughout further sets. It's a leading mechanic, in my opinion.
I will say, part of it I think is just a real estate issue on pipelines.
I have disagreements with that take. Because I mean that token that you just showed has more room taken up than say Kemba, Ka Enduring, legendary creature, cat, cleric, rebel would not take as much text as what you just showed. And
I would say yeah, I think that's accurate.
And
or other sets, like there's the reality chip is a legendary artifact creature.
Most things in the set that say Phyrexian are already taking up more words than rebel plus other creature type.
Yeah.
And what's weird is that they do have like rebel cards. It just doesn't physically make sense to me why it's not everywhere.
There's only 5 creatures that have the creature type.
Again, I think it just has to lend to the next set because with design, everything bleeds into one another and connects. And thinking about and how it would impact standard if this had so much rebel support, and then if you move into the next set, there's that much more rebel support. I feel like that might blow things out or make things seem bloated in a sense. Because I really don't think we're going to see a ton of like toxic in the next set. I think we're going to see more combat focused things in regards to like equipment and battle and stuff. I don't know who said this. Someone said it somewhere, but that they're going to think that, this next set is going to be like War of the Spark, but with like creatures and legendary creatures, I tend to agree with that. I think that's what we're gonna see. But I think that this is definitely like, I mean, the set is called like Phyrexia all is one.
Yeah.
So like they're gonna definitely focus more probably on the big bad, and then have like the big good be overly represented within the next set, I think.
Yeah, and I completely I get that part, right? So like, I get not having like it was in Meriden Besiege, where it's like a 50-50 split between like Phyrexians and not. Completely get that. So then like my issue, certainly just like as a Vorthos, and just like really liking the flavor of the set, when it's a main character who doesn't have rebel, like that there's like a disconnect for me there, because it's just like, I don't know like what the future will hold, and they could have like the whole next set is just like all rebels, but that, to me, that doesn't make it reasonable that Malira, the Living Cure, is still just a human scout and not a rebel. Because like as a character, she exemplifies like that definition. And I'm not saying like add more rebel cards, don't take out Phyrexian cards and put more in. I'm just saying, like, for the people that it literally makes objective sense for, why was this not
the typing choice?
It's just like a weird typing decision. And there's some Phyrexian things too that kind of should say Phyrexian, but just kind of like don't. And it's just a little weird, and I want someone to explain it to me, just so I can maybe be calmed down. But until then, I'm mad.
It's kind of like when archers don't have reach, or when creatures with wings don't have flying.
God.
Oh my God.
Archers should have.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it was a couple sets ago where someone just has a bow and it's just like no reach, like at all.
Like,
there's just no draw power on
Nylia, God of the Hunt, doesn't have reach.
Yeah, exactly. The one with a giant bow in the art that is towering over a forest doesn't have reach. Yeah.
I mean, the new what's her name? The new Glissa.
Yeah.
Doesn't do dick all with artifacts, and that's just weird. That's just like a weird thing.
Yeah, it breaks that streak with Glissa's cards being artifact focused.
It's just weird. It's I'm still gonna use the card, if it fits, but in terms of just like flavor and lore and stuff, it's just like, ooh, that's quite the change. Like, why was it mechanics first and then story, which happens more often than not, and I get that explanation, but I'm still sad.
I kind of had a conversation with a couple of game designers on Twitter about me being like disappointed that the new Atraxa had nothing to do with proliferation or counters and anything, and I was like, why is that not the case? And they had a very good talk about discussing with me about how you don't want to like lean too heavily into it because it could be boring. They listed a very beautiful example that actually kind of made a lot of sense to me, was the Kalia. How how the first one was this big pillar, like she's iconic. Kalia, you know what she does. So when they tried to do something similar with the new Kalia that cropped up in the set that's escaping my brain, she has a beautiful thread to her origins. No one really is excited. She's more of a 99 piece than 100 piece. The people who I do see her player have this thing like she's kind of a bit of a letdown. And so with Glissa, and I think also in the same way as Atraxa, I think it was both done for they want to try something new to not have it be a throwaway piece in the 99, but I think they also did it too because they wanted to harmonize with what else is going on in this set. I do think that we're gonna this is kind of it's not artifact heavy, but there's a good bountiful choice of artifacts, but I think that they just wanted to make something new that wouldn't just be thrown away within the 99, and this is only solely coming from a commander perspective. But
they would just make them better than the original, then they wouldn't get thrown away.
If you just make it better.
When you've already achieved perfection in one area, you got to branch out, right? You got to go for your commander EGOT.
But like that's what like literally that is something that was said to me on Twitter was like, you know, like, you don't want to like it's kind of hard to eclipse the sun, you know, and like the other glissas are very interesting and mechanically unique, but I don't think that they wanted to like, you know, have it stay one note. I think they wanted to like branch out into something unique and interesting, which I don't know. I like looked at Gliss and I had that same thought too. I was like, I don't know with artifacts, but like I don't know. I'm intrigued. I got a little bit more trust in it, but like I see 1,000%. Like you're like, come on, man. Like I felt that way with the Traxa. I literally publicly boohooed. I was like, come on.
So
Yeah.
on that note, then, with some of our disappointments in some of the design of these or redesign of some of these legends in their next iterations, is there anything from the set that we really like? Are there any
Mhm.
cards that we are really interested in? Anything that's sparking joy with us? Jim, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I have it right here. I pulled it out. Here's one I brought from home. Chris, I feel like you'll like this card, Vat of Rebirth.
Oh, yeah.
This is a 1-mana uncommon. I read this card like 4 times before I realized that the activated ability, you don't have to sacrifice Vat of Rebirth. It
Yep.
sticks around.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like it's not going to be in every deck. Four counters to put on it is steep. But if you're playing like Aristocrats, this card can put in work. It also doesn't have a restriction on what creature it can bring back.
Mhm.
This card's powerful.
Yeah, I think
1 mana.
it's a sleeper. That's for
Yeah.
sure. The fact that it comes down so early and sticks around forever
Yep.
is incredible. Absolutely.
I mean, I have other ones too if you want to.
Yeah,
I actually have a
let's
ton.
hear a couple of your favorites and we'll pass it around.
Sharing is caring, Jim.
Sure. Yeah. Sholdred's Edict is another one I got right here.
Yes, really
this
good
card's
one.
real good. It's an instant speed 2-mana Edict. You can force people to sacrifice. The thing that I like about it, the Planeswalker sacrifice Planeswalker is real nice, but the thing that I like about it is that you can specify that they have to sacrifice a non-token creature or a token creature, which is kind of cool because edicts tend to be really bad when you're playing against somebody with a token strategy. They've got like Reese the Redeemed and 200 elves. And you're like, oh, sacrifice a creature. And they're like, I'm going to sacrifice an elf. So like this like cuts right through that. It's like, no, you are sacrificing the thing that I want you to sacrifice. Without it being targeted removal, which is really cool against commanders with hexproof and things like Whisper Subcloak and that kind of thing. So
I think it's also the biggest
really cool.
issue with edicts. Absolutely, is
Yep.
like you can't just sacrifice a throwaway token creature if you want them to get rid of a non-token creature. I think it's great.
And chat's right. I love the Glistener Seer. I would also say that I love Sahili's Fruit Bowl or whatever the Super Bowl, the
Filigree Silex for
Filigree
Chris.
Silex.
Salad
Yeah.
bowl. Salad bowl.
The third artificer to make the third bowl bomb, and it didn't work. They gotta stop.
Bull Bomb Tribal.
Honestly.
I actually no longer own the ones that I played in the pre-release. Benjamin Wheeler asked me to sign one so that he can play it as his commander. So he's playing
Excellent.
Filigree Silex commander soon. Anyway, that's my picks.
Fantastic. Clay, any picks from you? Favorite cards, things that you're excited about?
Yes, absolutely. So as far as legendaries, Othari, Sun's Glory, the Phoenix. I am very, very excited about this card. I love token decks so much, and Assemble the Legion has been one of my favorite Magic cards for the entire time I've been playing Magic. And so having this similar kind of effect of like you get the counter and then you make a tapped and attacking, token for each of those. So I've been working on basically a list that's very similar to oh my gosh, why cannot my brain? Alex.
Assemble the Legion.
As an Assemble the Legion deck, where it's a rule 0, where Assemble the Legion is the commander. And so I played against that deck. I love that deck. And so I'm very similar working on a creatureless Othari deck that's just permanents that create tokens, and then we're just gonna snowball. And I'm very excited for that. And then the other deck that I've been talking about on Twitter the last couple of days, and the tweets keep blowing up about it, is not helmed by someone from the set, but and then Infect Storm deck. based off of cards like Prologue to Pheresis that we talked about earlier, and Infectious Inquiry, which is a card that I'm really excited about. It's Sign in Blood, but also you give an opponent a poison counter. And so basically this deck, I'm so excited to very much step out of my wheelhouse with Grixis, step out of my wheelhouse with a spell slinging deck, have an excuse to run 1,000-Year Storm, and just try to get as silly as possible with all these little like cantrips and these fun little poison counter proliferate spells that they've given us. So those really, and Volt Charge. I know we talked about Volt Charge. Very excited for Volt Charge.
Volt Charge, just
Yeah.
So
good.
And Chase, any cards you're looking forward to?
Yes, a lot of them are red. Shocker.
Get right out of town.
I know. I really like Awaken the Sleeper. It's an uncommon from this set. It's 4 mana. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. If it's equipped, you may destroy all equipment attached to that creature. I think that's a really great way to like get a big swing and also removal. I don't know. I just find that to be a really fun way to design a card. I don't know. I love it. Of course, all will be one, but I have 2 red focused planeswalker decks, so I'm obsessed.
Oh my God.
I literally am so in love with it. Koth, Fire of Resistance. Again, it just sings to my little red mage heart. You get to get lands, you get to deal damage with the lands, you get to do more damage with the lands. And I don't know. I'm really happy to see Koth. And the other card is a white card. And it's in one of the precons. I really like Norn's Decree.
Yes.
Which is 2 and a white enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls deal combat damage to you, that opponent gets a poison counter. Whenever a player attacks, if one or more players being attacked are poisoned, the attacking player draws a card. So I really like this because in my knowledge of cards that deal with poison and stuff, I don't think we've really ever seen a card that is poison that is defensive. Most poison decks or pieces are very aggressive and you want to touch somebody. This is like, don't touch me. And I really like that. I think it also is a really good way to facilitate card draw in this particular theme, but I also think in just white in general, I think it's just really good because, poison's kind of an oogie boogie. So people are like, well, I don't want to get poisoned, so they're not going to sing at you. But I also like that it features licorice porcelain Johnny. Just chilling out, looking like a pull and tear Twizzler. But I just find that to be snack. Yeah, he's looking like a whole snack, but I just think it's a really fun card. But yeah, a lot of my cards in this set unfortunately have to do with like planeswalkers, Ickermoon Gauntlet, obviously, but like I would never use that for poison. I would solely shove that into a planeswalker deck and just be disgusting. And I love it.
Chase, did you see the interaction between all will be one and Dark Depths?
No, I did not.
You place the 20 counters, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Or 1 counter at a time.
All Will Be One is one of those that I couldn't remember the last time that Twitter, infamous for hyperbolic reactions to spoilers.
Really?
And then All Will Be One came out. And I saw like 5 different people tweet out 5 different cards that All Will Be One just breaks. And I was
myself included, I was guilty of that too.
I was like, oh, we're on one right now because that's just wins the game. That just wins the game. That's Dolman wins the game. I was like, oh, okay, we got a real heater here because these are like all these different sources and different cards. Oh boy.
That's like, it seems like every set they release something that combos with Devoted Druid. It's like the last 4 sets in a row.
Yeah.
Like that card combos with a Brisk Wind.
Yeah.
Venser, the new Venser goes infinite with a Dross Scorpion and a Throne of Death. And it just goes infinite. And I mean, like, it doesn't do anything except give you infinite, T-posing dudes. But like, if you have like a Blood Artist, that's all you need. I just think that's so funny.
Or if
Like-
you've got one poison counter on an opponent.
Oh
it
yeah, then you're
takes them
just
out. Yeah.
you're just done. But it just made me laugh because Clay, I saw the same thing. That was like a day I had like a really bad migraine. I remember going to take a nap and I woke up and I saw like 8 different people screaming about Ickermoon Gauntlet, and I was like, I'm not even gonna look at this. And EK texted me and he goes, "Did you see the really cool Planeswalker thing?" And I'm like, "No." Tell me. And I was like, "What?" It's just
Yeah.
Twitter has a habit of taking things, I think, very well with no knee-jerk reactions, and I think that everyone is very polite and good at knowledge.
Reddit too, actually.
Oh my god, Reddit's the best of them all. They're the most level-headed people in the world.
Yeah, I really like All Will Be One as well. I think that it's definitely one of those like, hey, people have found 4 or 5 different 1-card combos with it, which is very interesting. I think that that's one that we're going to see a lot of moving forward, and I think that that's one that a lot of LGSs are going to come crying to the RC and CAG about for the next little while, saying the Red Terror deck comboed with a 1.5 card combo on me, ban this card.
And I will say no.
I will say supper.
Kiro, cards you're looking forward to in the set.
So personally, I think that this is the first set in a while where I have, maybe like save for like actual Commander Legends sets, where I think that there are like a lot of cards just from this set by itself that are going to like not only just like power up certain decks, but just make entirely new ones too. Like there's quite an amount of legendary creatures, but like there's going to be multiple poison style decks, you know, and they're going to have their different, you know, colors and everything, and just like the weird, just like the artifacts in this set that just kind of like can go in many different kinds of decks, whether it's like the vial that you brought up, Jim. I mean, that's just a black mana,
Battery
and it's
Birth.
reanimator. Like that's
Card's good.
and it works on poison counters. It's like, okay, well, how do I get that? Or proliferating. It's just like, I mean, it just has its own self-identity. Artifacts need to go into the graveyard.
Yep.
You could have decks that aren't even really thinking about doing that. You know, like a treasure deck. They weren't really doing reanimator, but now they just have this uncommon card that's just perfect in the deck. Why would you not run it? You know? So I personally think that this set will have the highest number of individual cards going to a great wide amount of decks, out of any set in like the past couple of years, save for like, you know, Commander Legends sets for sure. There's so many of these cards that you can just put in anything. All Will Be One is a very unique card. We've never gotten something like that before. So now all of those decks that just so happen to like mess around with counters in anything like Red Aligned, like that's just a new thing that, you know, why don't you do it? I have an Optimus Prime deck. I'd be quite wacky to not run All Will Be One, because I get counters and I do it freely and I'll just deal damage, you know?
6 +1/+1 counters a turn cycle in Optimus Prime. It's real good.
Yeah.
And the Domini, I would say like are my favorite, like just kind of set of creatures in terms of like, these are abilities that each one of these colors wants to have. Blue, you know, proliferate, double your power and toughness. I hate the original card, Unnatural Hunger. I despise that card. I'm not a green player, but I despise Unnatural Hunger because it's each combat. I don't even think it's fair. Hate it so much. Now it's on a creature that becomes indestructible. With reach. Cool. Good. Great. Love it. You know, I think all of the Domini here are going to be Commander game changers as well as just like 12 other artifacts in here of varying rarities too. It's not even just the mythic things. It's from an uncommon to a couple of rares to commons that just work. I think Commander will change with this set just due to the sheer amount of extremely playable cards.
Cool. Before we get to a couple of my favorite cards, I want to remind everybody that we're winding down. We're going to be doing Q&A and our draws in a second. If you've got any questions for us, please put them in chat. Please redeem the 1 point highlight your message point redemption as well, so that we can see your messages. We'll get to those questions in just a moment. As for a couple of cards that I really like, Norn's Decree is definitely one of my favorites. I think that it is a fantastic cross-section between a rattlesnake and a political card, right? It sits on the table and it says, don't attack me, you're going to be punished for it. And then it says, if somebody has attacked me, they're now open season for everybody. You are now rewarded for attacking somebody who has wronged me. It is one of those like spiteful cards that are like, you attack me once and you're a target for the rest of the game. That kind of play style that we know so many people are so fond of within our format. It's that on a card. And I think that's pretty excellent. I really like All Will Be One. We talked about that one. Prologue to Phyrexia. I am going to make it my goal to copy Prologue to Phyrexia 10 times. I am going to win just by casting and copying Prologue to Phyrexia. I will build a deck where that is the case. I don't care whether it's a Krark and Sakashima deck where I just need to copy it a bunch of times. I don't care if I put it on an Isochron Scepter and I activate it 10 times. I'm going to win just with that card, I swear. I think it's a common, and it is just so cool, so slick, so elegant as a card. I also really like Glistening Sphere out of the Abzan Precon.
I do too.
It's the 3 mana rock, enters tapped, proliferates on ETB, and if with Corrupted, if somebody has 3 poison counters, it makes 3 mana of any color. I think that it's one of the lowest mana value, multiple mana creating rocks that we've seen since the Monoliths and Soul Ring. It takes a little bit more work to do, but this could easily be coming down on turn 3, proliferating somebody up to 3 poison counters. You untap and you're making 3 mana with it, which I think is great. It's what a lot of decks want to do. Even just a rock that proliferates on ETB is fantastic for a lot of decks and a lot of strategies, even without the corrupted aspect of it. And then lastly, I think one of my favorite cards from the set, which is not actually out of the set, it's out of the commander-only cards, Lux Artillery.
Oh yeah, I love that card.
I saw Lux Artillery, so cool. And I want to build 5 different decks that do stuff with Lux Artillery. It is hands down one of the coolest, most unique cards that we've seen. It brings back Sunburst, which I mean, one of my heydays in Magic was during original Mirrodin block, where we saw Sunburst and Darksteel and Fifth Dawn. And bringing that back is just scratching a nostalgic itch for me. But the fact that if you've got 30 counters on artifacts or creatures, at the end of each turn, you're doming each opponent for 10. That is so good, and I want to get there as quickly as possible. There are a few cards where Lux Artillery and 1 card gives you enough counters to start doming people for 10. So I want to build a colorless color identity, colored mana generating deck that uses Lux Artillery is what I want to do. So like it's a 5-color deck with colorless color identity to take advantage of Sunburst here. Really looking forward to playing with a lot of these cards. I really wasn't stoked about the reveals from this set until we got to, I think, the last 2 or 3 days worth of reveals, and they just hit us with banger after banger after banger. So I'm really stoked about it now. I got those brewing juices flowing. Cool. And that brings us to our Q&A. We've got a couple of questions from the audience before we do our draws. Then we're going to let everybody do another round of intros before we hand it off to a raid. So do stick around. First question from the audience. This one is from one JIm Lapage. Hi, first time, long time. I have a question for Clay, Chase, Chris, and Kuro. How are all of you so kind, attractive, and fun to hang out with?
It's a lot of work, but through therapy and
and the power of positive thinking, you too can
and
be
lighting.
this attractive. Our next question is, what is your favorite art out of Phyrexia All Will Be One? Whether you're art blind or not. I think that this is another question. Doesn't have to be a good card.
Can
Just
we
what's
talk
your
about
favorite
the fact
art?
that Scryfall just went offline?
Oh,
I just
did it?
refreshed.
Scryfall did just go offline, but I
I
do have
just
some cards set
refreshed
aside.
to try to pull it up. And
So this is a question from chat stalwart Crab Baskets here, by the way. What's your favorite art? I really like Norn's Wellspring is one of my favorites. It's the weird oil out of eyes statue. I think that's just really evocative art. I like that a lot. Chase.
I don't have a favorite, but I have some I really like. I really like the art in Prologue to Phyrexia, which I think the flavor text attributes to how haunting it is, but I really love just how delicately terrifying Tamio looks. It's such a stark difference to how we normally see her depicted. I just think it's beautiful and gross, and I also like the Atraxa art. I am a very strong supporter of seeing more pinks depicted in magic art. A lot of artists tend, I think, to shy away with that, especially when you see in black cards, you see a lot of purples. But I really do like to see more pinks show up in art, and I just find it to be just strikingly beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me, when we first heard about this set, we saw some promo art of an Atraxa that was just red and white. It was Atraxa in white on just the blood red background, and I thought that popped so much.
Beautifully.
It's such a shame that it didn't actually show up in the set anywhere. Anybody else with any favorite arts?
I like a lot of the art in the set, like quite a bit. Whether it's like flavor reasons, like that would be like Mirren's Safe House if it's like for a flavor reason. But I think in terms of just like they really, really nailed how like awe-inspiring or like just horrifying or just like whatever the Domini for sure. Like Mundrak Glory Dominus is a beautiful piece of like just a beautiful piece of art, and it screams this is a like pseudo like constructed god of Norn's realm. The in the red one too. I think the red one is like
Solfim.
Solfim. I think the red one's like my favorite one when I'm not just looking at just like the art that's just like like objectively just beautiful, like amazing. I would say the Domini. I like cards that represent like just the concepts of things. I think like, and then second would be the Zenith cycle. And I remember like just listening to the video on how like why each sun is or why the
monuments
statues and monuments are that way. Like Red Sun's Twilight is like Urabrask is like reaching for the sun because like Phyrexia, red mana people should be like driving forward to their goals. You know, like that's poetic and beautiful. I will say though that the promo art for Green Sun's Twilight is way better.
Can I
think that those Twilight arts are going to look really good in foil, just with the big solid color of the suns behind them, or the gradient color of the suns behind them. I think in foil those are going to look fantastic.
Can I talk about a card art that disappoints me?
Clay, do you have any art that stands out? Any art that you like before we get to Chase's disappointment?
So without like Scryfall real quick to pull up the artwork that I would have been able to find. I would echo Kuro with the Domini. And just in general, it's funny that I love the world building aesthetic of the Fair Basilica and Elesh Norn's whole faction. I strongly dislike how so many of her actual people are portrayed artistically. Like, I love, the Fair Basilica, beautiful. The like all of the Norn's Wellspring was shown, all of the stuff, all of those pieces are so pretty, and then all of the actual Phyrexians are just so grotesque and wrong. And I like, there's so many teeth, as Chad has been saying.
The jawbone duelist and
the something. EK made a joke about it, but Crawling Chorus, I do love this art. I think this is an incredible piece of art. And then, there's one more card that
Goldfish is working if you wanted to look it up. Goldfish's art is still up if you wanted to scroll through.
I do want to remind everybody that we are at time here, so I want to make sure that we make it through the rest of these questions here as well. I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
I do have a couple arts to shout out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
The only art that has actually jumped out at me, like to the point where I've noticed it in the last couple sets, is by Dominic Mayer, and like it's like every card by Dominic Mayer just like jumps out at me. It's like the use of textures and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Dominic Mayer did a ton of art for this set. The one of the promo Elesh Norns, most of them were the like pen and ink, like the black and white style ones. So like one of the promo Elesh Norns, and then I believe the black and the green Dominus. And anyway, shout out to Dominic Mayer, big fan. And the slow bad Iron Goblin.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, I do really like these black and white arts. These the use of negative space on them is really, really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Oil painting, I think they're calling it, or whatever
Oil
the
slick.
Style is.
Oil slick. Yeah. That's the one. Right on. All right. So next question from the audience is, what are your predictions for what battle cards are? Jim, you can take a bow out of this. But this is from user P3AC3Craft in chat. Any predictions for what a battle card is?
It's going to be, so just like Toxic was reskinning kind of Infect and kind of bringing it forward towards the, to like the modern Magic world. Battle is going to be taking Clash and adapting it for that's my prediction.
Gotcha. It's like each player flips instead of target player flips.
Absolutely.
There you go. Chase, any predictions?
I would like to see Battle be a sort of like, God, this is messing with all sorts of rules, but I would like to see it sort of be as a thing like you cast, but it doesn't take effect until you reach a certain threshold. I don't want to say like suspend, but like it doesn't take effect until like, each opponent has a certain threshold of creatures or a certain threshold with creature types. And then after that, a battle happens and something chaotic. I think maybe like implementing like, God, I doubt there's going to be coin flips, but it'd be so fun to see like, flip a coin, whoever wins this one gets this benefit or something. Like I really want it to be a thematic battle on the board between your stuff and someone else's stuff. Or it could be as very, very, very simplistic. So Jim.
Chat's like scrutinizing my face right now.
I can see the red laser from the Watsy sniper training on your head for every time your lips curl upwards a centimeter.
NBA enforcement.
Yeah. I don't want it to be as simplistic as like, like that enchantment Mirrodin Besiege where you choose Phyrexian or you choose Mirrodin.
Right, yeah.
I don't want it to be as simplistic as that. I want it to be something that is literally like thematically a battle happening on the field. Off the top of my head, I know I've had time to prepare my answer for this, but Jesus. I don't know.
Hero, any predictions?
I think it's gonna be like Marvel Snap, where there's like different locations, and it's like whatever card you place on that battle, if it has like higher power, it'll give you like an enchantment on the field, and if your opponent plays like an equal or like a greater power card on it, like they'll knock you off. So I think it's gonna work so well with
the Lord of the Rings where they're doing the panorama cards.
Yes,
like the Battle of Pelennor Fields. That's the battle. The battle is the.
I agree, and I believe in it.
Space Chase, but in standard, sounds like hell.
I think EK and I are on the same page here for what the prediction is. I think that this is a reskinned world enchantment kind of thing that sits on the battlefield. There can only be one in place. There can only be one active battle, and it's replaced if somebody plays another one. And it's just a global effect, and that's it. It's like a Pokemon gym or a world enchantment, right?
Or
Who's
like
Pokemon
what?
Gym?
Jesus, what's
But
what's
Pokemon Gym is the other channel that you're on.
Planes Chase? What if it's like a Planes Chase type thing?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I mean, implementing plane chase into like standard games. I mean, they made their like mistake or kerfuffle with trying to make Commander in a standard format. Trying to put plane chase in there seems. I mean, that would be dope because it'll probably be like each plane being attacked by Phyrexians, and that's just more great art, which I'd be excited for. But if it's gonna be like permanence, that means it has to go in your deck.
Probably be like a little separate little board, like how attractions were or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But
This is all
it should
speculation.
it should be Planes Chase because it has my name in it, and therefore that
Fair.
means it's good.
It's good for branding purposes.
It's good for brand.
Is your real name Plain?
Yeah. Well, so that's my dad's name. But you can call me.
Yeah, as opposed to Fancy
Plane
Chase.
chase.
As opposed to Fancy Chase. Yeah, I'm just Plain Chase.
Yeah. All right. So next question up is from JJ Mickey. Shout out to JJ Mickey. Which color do you think benefits the most from this set? What do you think is the strongest color in this set?
Actually, it's probably green.
I was gonna say green.
Yeah, it's probably green.
I
Green
think
has
between
so
Venerated
much.
Rock Priest and Contaminated,
Yeah.
whatchamacallit,
Everything is just so good with green.
Also,
Yeah.
don't sleep on Plague Nurse. That card slaps. It murders people. It's the one that gives all of your toxic creatures toxic one.
Right. See, I don't. Yeah, I don't like that card.
Yeah, I know. It's strong. It
Right, it's
murders
just-
people.
It's just one of those cards where you're just minding your business. Your deck has green in it. You don't got another single poisonous, infectious, venomous, toxicus card in your deck. You're just chilling. And then it's just like,
So this one
better start
is
keeping track of poison now.
this one is a little parasitic in that it only gives creatures that already have toxic more toxic. So you do have to
True.
commit to the bit.
Oh, that's true. I needed
There you
to
go.
read the card and then explain.
Yeah,
it.
and you
I
can
thought
only
was just each
activate
of
it
the creature
once.
Control.
But-
There is the green overrun that is
Yes.
whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, the blocking player gets a poison counter.
Yeah.
That's
fun.
That's very much a
Is that
yes.
an instant?
one where you don't
No,
need
it's a
any
sorcery.
other.
Okay.
Uh,
thank God.
No
Yeah, you
gotchas.
don't
No
need anything
gotchas.
else in your deck.
Please.
No
Yeah,
tainted
it's-
strikes
it's
in this.
telegraphed.
Yeah, I'm
no,
like
no,
literally
no,
what you're
no,
saying
no.
is just Triumph of the Horde with an extra step if
Yeah.
it wasn't like if it was also an instant.
Yeah.
Yeah, this can be you're either running into a bunch of blockers and killing the person, or they don't block and they die to combat. Like this is a
Yeah.
damned if you do, damned if you don't
My
situation.
Planeswalker decks, no.
I will say that Noxious Assault and the Plague Nurse, they both benefit go wide strategies more than go tall strategies. Like with Triumph of the Hordes, it can be like, okay, you landed a Craterhoof Behemoth for 4, like you've got 4 creatures in play, and like Triumph of the Hordes just wins, right?
Yeah.
But at least with this, like because they only get 1 poison counter, you do need to have like if you're going from 0 to nothing, you have to have 30 creatures on the board to kill the table with this
Mhm.
card, right?
Mhm.
And they all have to be blocked. And if like somebody wants to let some damage through, they can save on the poison counters. So like the ceiling for this one, I think is much lower than Triumph of the Hordes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So next up from Mishatem, what card are you looking forward to building around the most, either as a commander or one of the 99? I think largely we answered a lot of this in some of our favorite cards.
Yeah.
Jim,
I bought a card while we were talking earlier.
what did you buy, buddy?
I bought Frankenstein's Monster, which is a card from the Dark, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna run this as a commander. I'm gonna run a mono black proliferate deck where I use unusual counters. Because Frankenstein's Monster makes +2/+0, +1/+1, or +0/+2 tokens.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, Kuro touched on it earlier, but although -1/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters annihilate, no other counters do that.
Yep.
So like if I have a +2/+0, a +0/+2, and 2 -1/-1 counters, they all stay on the creature. They cancel each other out, but they stay there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to build mono black Frankenstein's monster proliferate with weird counter types.
Nice. There is that uncommon from the set as well. I tweeted this out earlier, but it's Scheming Aspirant, which is whenever you proliferate, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. But I lamented that there are only 2 legendary creatures that proliferate. But I would love to see this in a deck as a vector towards victory. Is if I just proliferate enough times, I'm going to drain the table.
Yeah.
Right. So would love to see that. And anything else that other people are looking forward to building around, apart from Frankenstein's monster, which is not in the set whatsoever.
But proliferate is in the set, Chris.
I mean, all is one again. But I'm not going to build around it. I'm going to put it in my Chandra deck, and also I'm going to put it in my Kadric deck. And I want to do Ickermoon Gauntlet, but I'm building currently building a 5C deck with Urza Headmaster as the commander, because I thought it'd be funny as hell. And I think it'd be cool to just put the Ickermoon Gauntlet in there and just spin the wheel on Urza and see what I get. Because I'm just trying to have fun with planeswalkers in weird, stupid ways. And I know that people are like proliferate, infect, but in my mind, I'm like proliferate. That means that my weird people can do things.
Weird people doing things. That's what we're here tonight for.
Oh yeah.
Kuro, anything you're looking forward to building around?
I mean, your boy's gonna be on a Mirren deck, so I can smack down all these Phyrexian lovers out here. It's either gonna be Othari or Niley. I'm not sure which one yet. I'm kind of leaning more towards Niley because she'll or Nayali, because she'll make me play in a different fashion than I normally do. Because I almost never draw into exile. I am petrified of losing cards. So I got over my draw discard phobia with Rafine and Shurikai, but draw into exile, impulse draw, that's spooky. That's spooky. But
attacking creatures you control have double strike is a strong line of text.
Yes, it is.
It is potent creatures you control, but it is still very, very strong. I love Nayali's character design. I have a thing for big fist character design. That is something that just itches right for the character design aspect of it. Clay, anything you're looking forward to building around?
I already said Prologue to Phyresis is probably the #1 card that I'm gonna. I mean, I've spent so much time building a deck completely out of both my normal colors and playstyle, based around this card, along with Vraska's Downfall, which I think is a black version that sacrifices a creature and puts a poison counter. So cards like that, we're just gonna build a whole deck around them, and then. Nayali is going to, and White Sun's Twilight are going to be the new cards that are going to cycle through Fabine and win 4 games and then get cycled out of Fabine. White Sun's Twilight sounds super fun. Skrelv's Hive, I put it in the chat. Skrelv's Hive, just giving White a Bitter Blossom that if you get enough toxic counters becomes the creatures, they get lifelink. I love that. I love the idea of a deck built around little white bugs. That's super funny to me.
Nice. Fantastic. And our last question before we announce our winners. So we've closed the draws at this point. Thanks everybody for donating. But our last question is from Balor1135. Why is Skrelv not the best card in the set? And why is everyone else terrible for not loving it? So I think Skrelv's standout new legend, this little horrible looking bug, is definitely a fan favorite. I don't know if he's the next jellyfish son here, but this little Phyrexian might.
I will say the set's not out yet, and I have already seen at least one person has Skrelv tattooed.
Jesus.
Really?
All right.
So Nexi got Skrelv tattooed on her arm. So I will say, as far as immediate adoption of a new legendary creature, I think, whatever, a week before, or what is it, 3 days before pre-release, that's a new record, right?
Wow. No kidding.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
I just think
That's pretty
Skrelv is cool. I just think he's a cool commander. I like that it's a 1-mana 1 thing. It's toxic. It gives something you have toxic, so you're not limited to, a toxic deck. You can do like what is it, like 8.5 tails in here and just do some stupid fun stuff. I don't know. I like it. I think it's cute. I think it's just a little dude, a little lad.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when my creatures are just little guys,
Yeah.
Like
Can little
Little
guy
guy.
become a creature
Yeah.
type, please?
yeah,
Funky
I'm a real
little
big fan
guy.
of little guys.
Little guy, I like it.
And
I'm
Chris, can we pull up
proxying
the
all-
slick art too on this
Yeah,
one? I really like Skrell's oil slick.
I would say
art.
I'm gonna proxy all of the cards
Yeah,
that
that's
make Phyrexian mites and replace might with little guy.
Yes.
I'll make a couple
Just the
Phyrexia little guys.
Yeah,
Just a little
Or just
dude.
tokens. Just have Phyrexian.
yeah.
Might
They
just
all just
Phyrexian
say
little guys.
little guy.
There's a pin of
Reach out to
Skrelv.
Inklin. Get
I like
Jess to do
Oh, true,
Phyrexian
yeah,
little
they're-
guy tokens.
Yeah.
So good.
Hey Jess, are you gonna be at SCG Indy this weekend?
Awesome. All right. We have our draw winners for our prizes as well. So get ready, folks. Thanks to everybody who donated. We have raised $420.69 rather, far above and beyond our $250 goal. Thank you to everybody who donated. The winner of our Infinite Tokens prize pack is Crab Baskets. Congratulations, Crab Baskets.
Woo!
The first pre-con that we were giving away, the winner is Stibbs for that very generous
Hey.
donation
Nice.
earlier.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Stibbs.
Thank you, Stibbs.
The second pre-con deck goes to Josh Pardee. Thank you very much, Josh Pardee. And our third pre-con deck goes to Tom Marks. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you all for your generous donations. The Trevor Project is benefiting from all of these donations. Thank you, everyone. We're going to give everybody a chance to once again tell us who they are and where we can find you before we head off to raid EDH Rec Cast. So do stick around. We will start with Kuro. Kuro, let us know who you are and where we can find you.
Yeah, again, I'm Kurohitsuki. You can find me at Kurohitsuki on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those wonderful places. And yeah, if you're looking for some streamed Commander content, I am one of the many that do. But yeah, hope to see you there with some good vibes, some good decks, and for Mirrodin. That's going to be the deck theme for this month for sure.
Oh yeah. All right, Jim, who are you and where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm Jim. You can find me on Twitter at JimTSF or at the Spike Feeders. That's the one for the whole group. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel called the Spike Feeders where we do Commander gameplay and some other things as well, but mostly Commander gameplay. And yeah, thanks for having me. This was real fun.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming out. Chase, who are you and where can we find you?
It's an existential question, but I'll give you the short list. My name is Chase, also known as Manacurves. I'm a Commander content creator. I stream Paper Commander gameplay, and I also do collaborative deck building on my Twitch channel, which is Manacurves. I write articles about Commander for Star City Games, and I also have a podcast with the lovely EK's Plays Cards about Commander called Bad at Magic. We actually just released an episode today about Infect and why you don't hate Infect, you just hate 3 cards. It's a very good episode. I really recommend checking it out. And we have some other really good ones coming in the future too. And you can find that on my YouTube channel and wherever you can listen to podcasts.
Highly recommended. Thank you, Chase, for coming out. Clay, who are you and where can we find you?
Hi friends, I'm Claybee. I'm part of the C&C Power Hour here. Under normal circumstances, we stream Virtual Magic and do these roundtables every time a new set comes out, along with Chris. And we're fortunate enough to have wonderful people like the folks tonight come out, help us raise money, and get to talk about Magic. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at MTG_Claybee, or you can find me trapped under some kind of animal at pretty much all times. I'm always going to be wherever they are. Thank you to everybody in chat, everybody who donated, and again to our guests. Thank you so much for coming out. You're all wonderful. Any chance to chat is great, and I can't wait for the next time.
Fantastic. Thanks, Clay. And as always, folks, I'm Chris, and I'm your commander mechanic, your moderator tonight. And on behalf of all of us, thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us. Thank you to all of our panelists for coming out. A special shout out to Chris, C&C Power Hour, our producer here, as well as Andy, our man in the chair. We could not do this without all of you, panelists, attendees, and everybody running behind the scenes. You make this so fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Have a great time, and send the love on over to EDH Rec. All right? Take care, everyone. Good night.
Have a good night.
Supporting EDH.